Hello, BookTube. Thought we'd go through the little odds and ends here and there, things that I wanted to chat about that don't really fall under any one overarching category. And I thought, who better for me to chat with them with than my lame ass BookTube friends? The first being the mailbag. In addition to books, I got magazines today, and one of them was latest Vanity Fair, and it has a wonderful letter I thought I would read to you. uh, it goes like this. Back in 1997, the whole of what Gore Vidal referred to as the book chat land rushed to review Catherine Graham's great memoir, Personal History. All the leading literati wrote about it at 800, 1,000, 3,000 words and more. And now, 20 years later, in Kay's Kind of Summer, Madeline Blaze writes, quote, Personal History has an air of detached dignity, as if the author is beyond currying favor or proving points. Her audience appears not to be her children or even her grandchildren, but descendants yet to be born, who might want to know what it was like when their great 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 grandmother was running the world. And the letter writer concludes by saying simply, absolutely perfect, and in only one paragraph. How wonderful. And that letter writer was moi. I was mentioning this uh, just last night. The fact that I still have the age old habit that I honed for decades on a manual typewriter with a sheet of paper coming out of it. Some of you might have seen them in museums. The age old habit that I have of dashing off letters to the editor. I do it all the time. All the time. I have been an editor many times in my life. I know what it feels like to feel like you're working in an echo chamber. I fire off letters like that to everybody. If I see something that I don't like, something that doesn't make any sense, if I read a point in a magazine article that strikes me as utterly vapid or really good, it's easier now than it's ever been with email to dash off a letter to the editor. And every once in a while, they like it and they run it in the print magazine. This issue of just so you don't rush out to the newsstand and buy it for that one letter. This issue of Vanity Fair also has an excerpt from a forthcoming book called Cartoon Country, in which the son of the man who drew Prince Valiant writes about this one little town in Connecticut that all the famous artists of the day somehow managed to live in, and they all knew each other, and they were doing great, epic-defining work. And it's a wonderful book, heavily illustrated and wonderfully chatty. And it was great to read that excerpt in this. But that that conversation about where in which I just happened to mention that I fire off letters to the editor took place over a Skype conversation with a booktuber who, although he's less sexy than I am, and really booktube. I can't really wait for that not to be true, can I? Or I wouldn't Skype anybody. But even though he's, not as sexy as I am, he also had another idea. Reminder to me of an idea that I've brought up on this channel before. It's been on my mind, on and off, for 10 years. And that is to make a book of my various reviews. To pull together a sort of collected review type thing, like the sort of thing, only not with the stratospheric quality that Gore Vidal himself did with United States, and that everybody who's ever been a prolific book reviewer has toyed with the idea at one point or other. And this booktuber suggested that it might be possible that I was bemoaning the technical difficulties because I wanted to be an ebook. And that involves so much gathering stuff from different places and reformatting everything so it's all in the same format and working on the gutters and the margins and whatnot. All of you who've made your own ebooks will know what I'm talking about. And it just struck me as the biggest headache in the world. And the suggestion that floated during this conversation was, that I could offer that work to a college undergraduate, something or other, as an internship with full credit and as much help as I can give them in the literary world once the job is done, and also payment, of course, by the hour. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking that's really intriguing. I don't know how true that is. I don't know whether or not finding such a person would be every bit as much work as formatting the book myself. And then that got me thinking about something else, about something connected that also has come up on this channel, which is a kind of stopgap to a collected reviews, which would be a website, stevedonahue.com or .net or whatever's not taken, whatever's available, where eventually I would build into that website everything that I do and that I ever have done that can still be salvaged from the myths of antiquity. All of it would be there. Eventually, it'd be a huge amount of work, but eventually it would be a central place where you can go to find me, which I realize, I mean, I've heard this from blue-haired old ladies on Boston's Beacon Hill. I've heard it from young people. I've heard it from people in different countries. The complaint is always the same. You publish everywhere. It's not always easy to follow it all, especially since I am rather bad at publicizing it, all of it. So these people have said a central website would be really convenient. It would help a lot. But a central website raises the exact same kinds of questions. So I had a question. Since the subject's come up, I had a question for the rest of you. Is there anybody out there within the sound of my voice to go all Indian insomniac on you? Is there anybody out there who's good at building websites and might be willing to talk about doing that? The one time that I approached a stranger about building stevedonahue.net or .com or whatever it is and loading it with content, it was a stranger who'd been recommended to me by the friend of a friend and this person was a professional website designer, and started talking about $300 an hour, and I couldn't end the conversation fast enough. So I guess what I'm asking is informally, in a friendly manner among us, is there anyone out there who is adept at building a website who might want to work, who might be interested in such a project, and maybe, for a full design credit on the website and whatever quid pro quo comes up during the course of negotiations that seems attractive? Is there anybody out there who might be willing to try building stevedonahue.com? I figured I might as well ask officially, since I've never done that, and it's yielded me these kinds of just open-ended requests have yielded me great results on a bunch of different subjects in the past. So in addition to buying a wonderful issue of Vanity Fair, although not for the cover article. Oh my God, the cover article is about Angelina Jolie out on her own in the world, and it's meant to be the classic Graydon Carter Vanity Fair, puff piece. But oh my God, does she not come off well? Maybe that's just the cynic in me that thought that way. The whole article's about how she's facing life on her own, and it doesn't take you more than 10 paragraphs to realize that she's never alone. Never. She's surrounded by gardeners, landscapers, cooks, menu artists, hairstylists. People wait on her every tiny, minuscule whim 24 hours a day. So it's not exactly like she's, faring out on her own. And also in the article, oh my God, she doesn't come off as Einstein. Let's just put it that way. But anyway, the rest of the issue is wonderful. But it is. I thought I would mention that. But in addition, I want to put out the call. Let me know if you're hep to the jive that the kids are laying down of making a website. I'd love to hear about it, because whether or not I do an enormous 1,000-page book of literary reviews, I think I would like to do a website before the year is out. So that's it for now. That's it with all of my rambling and with my strong advocacy that if you read something in an edited journal or even in the newspaper, fire off a letter. You run the risk of being Grandpa Simpson on his typewriter. Dear editor, there are too many states. Please eliminate 2. P.S. I am not a crackpot. You run that risk, but trust me, editors really like it. But anyway, I'll wrap up for now, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.